should crush that. We should crush that.
Yeah, I saw more than two. I saw more than two.
I killed one already.
I hit him once. He's in the concrete. He's in the concrete, Profi.
I'm crushing it.
Go with Profi. Go with Profi. Go with Profi.
Okay, hold on. I'm late.
There's two there. Come back.
I told you there was two there. I told you that.
Okay. Just shoot back. This is a risky play.
Yeah.
Yo, this is.
I can't come back.
Look. Listen, this is gonna shift down.
Let me play.
Let me play.
The better blow up. You're better blow up.
I know. I might blow up here.
Get out.
Woo!
Can't cover you.
Actually, just blew up.
It's a good circle favor, but at this point, you just got to try to survive. Oh, damn. Remember, he was the last member. We saw what...
You can drive right here, Blue.
I'm stuck.
Okay.
Yeah, Loebs is probably dead.
I can try and cover you. Hold on.
Wait, what?
They already know that Wildcard is still up and the only team left on the west side.
Wildcard might wrap west.
Okay. There's still people at Yellow Mark.
There's a guy inside that building.
Yeah, inside this compound, and there's still people across zone on Yellow Mark.
Yeah, you guys can push to this hill right here on blue now.
Yep.
I think he's in that house. Yeah, he's in the house.
Do we just dive it, bro? We win if we dive it.
I don't know. Do
We only have the bus. We can two dive in the bus and two hold from the ample spot. Don't dive by yourself.
Wait, don't dive it.
He's in the right house, I think. Outside the right house.
Yeah, we can smoke and just run out.
Okay, I'm down. Remember, there's still people in this compound. Don't go down.
I might go down. He's peeking the right house. He has a 3 helm, 3 gear.
I'm
Wildcard's wrapping.
Wait, Wildcard's already on the top of us. I'm in a smoke? Yeah, I'm in a smoke. Oh my god.
This all set, bro?
Yeah, no, I don't think so.
No, I don't think we do. Just peek up this region.
Oh, Shark, no.
Now, Sharky knows where he's at. Your boy Dre went down inside of the exchange as well.
Wildcard went too slow, and now
trap.
Tempo Storm has the positioning.
Sharky trap.
He's above me. Right above me, Nate. Okay, I'm back up.
I don't
Just
think
get on our side. Get on our side.
Get on our side of the ridge. Play our side of the ridge. Don't over challenge.
I can smoke for you.
Don't over challenge that Sharky. Don't give him the knock.
I have to peek. I want to. Nate came.
I'm looking in 2 seconds.
Wait, he's moving.
This last one goes center. Just do not throw.
I have to. He's on me. I'm on my left.
Okay, can you back down? You don't
back down.
You can body peek down.
Right up the bridge.
Okay.
Close left.
One left. One bullet.
I see. Eyes on the tree, Zampa. Nice!
Good shit. Good job, boys.
Good shit, guys.
Oh, dude, Shark, you should have just stayed in your hut, man. Like, you let them get right up on you. You almost got down crossing to the other one for whatever reason.
They smoked my hut, though.
So what? Like, so what if they smoke it?
Good morning, good evening, good afternoon. Welcome back. This is the OGN Super Arena. My name's Toffies. I'm joined by the Cammy D. As always, Game 1 is in the books. And here's my big takeaway. Endemic, second win for them, right? And I think a lot of people, a lot of critics, maybe even some of us said, good win, but something kind of crawled to that first victory. No one knew he was up there.
Yeah.
Any issues you had with that win have to be gone after this one because he won that game twice for his team, taking Bahawaka out early on the cross.
Yeah.
And that insane flick there at the end to guarantee, like, to line it up for Endemic to take the big win.
So Endemic, they often find themselves in bad situations. They're really good at getting a lot out of those bad situations, but even within those situations, something is coming up as kind of the player to look at, to be the clutch player on that team when their backs are against the wall in the Miramar game, and then today as well. That just turnaround onto the Lazarus player, I forget who it was absolutely amazing.
Literally, it was such a good flick that it blew their names out of your mind.
Yeah, exactly. It's like,
But
Lazarus who?
Honestly, that was the big takeaway for me on Endemic, is that they played well, and something is really emerging for me.
Yeah.
As one of those names that I think has kind of come out during this opening season of the NPL and just shown us players that maybe weren't as on the radar as they deserved to be prior to this event.
Yeah, and that's one of the good things about how this league has developing like NA talent. When you had the invite circuit last year, it was kind of a lot of the same names, but now you really got to prove that you belong here.
Yeah.
You can't just coast off of like one or two of your teammates.
And that'll be great. Endemic was one of those teams, they were in 9th place starting today, about 5.7 points per game. They need to pick up that a little bit to feel safe going away from relegation, and that opening up with a big win. And not only a big win, but a win that was earned literally every step of the transition across military. Rachel hit a little bit in her interview. She said, it's a tough transition. How do you handle playing military? It's a long rotation.
It's rough.
Like, what did they do that you think worked so well for them?
They just got those kills.
Fair.
So if you look at the kills of that game, it was so spread out. Usually you see the top 2 or 3 teams kind of collect the majority of the kills. That's not the case at all this time around. The winning team had 6 kills, which we've seen before, but also the second and third place team also only had like 5 or 6 kills each. And that's because so many teams got kills themselves because of how complicated it is to transition over onto Military Island.
Well, speaking of all the kills, let's take a look back at that game and see just where all the kills came from. Cameron, game 1 highlights, started with the bridge camp.
It's camps just like this that net teams kills. Smoke and Ace is trying to punish shoot to kill. Now, they only got 1 kill in this transition, but it was pulling moves like that, which opportunities are abundant of teams rotating into Military Island.
There were camps everywhere, anywhere that you could think of. We do see VG, who had a great game. Shuro comes up with 8 kills in that match.
Yeah, I really want to call this team out because Vicious has been growing and developing, and Shuro especially. 8 kills, 9 overall, only got 10th place, so that's a bunch of points, and that's really strong on a game like this. But Y10 Fate really doing a good job controlling their space and really flexing into the circle 1 step at a time. Already 5 kills, that's a good amount.
Big push by Hypok here, slides around the outside, trying to capitalize on Knock, comes up, does manage to get the res push here, and ends up taking, so there's 2 players now looking for reses. It was a smart play plus a flush. He goes down, and you saw Bahawaka try to come in and finish it. He was unable to do so right here. Something becomes sort of the big MVP, I think, for Lazarus in that moment because he saved their lives.
Yeah, definitely. But then he also ended them just moments afterwards.
Ain't that the truth?
But look at this. Yeah, the trade-off against K-Mine. K-Mine does get the flush onto a member of Lazarus beforehand, but here as well. Look at that
Look at
flick!
that. Sexy.
Nailed right in the head.
Power of the AK, am I right?
Yeah, and then just the 2v1. Easy does it for Endemic in the very final steps.
So it's a quick cleanup. That last kill wasn't what won them the game. It was the one prior to the last kill.
Yeah.
Removing Lazarus, who dropped military, fought military, and we're in a position to win it. When we saw that last circle sort of establish itself, we said, well,
Yeah.
WTF and Lazarus are in the best spots here. But then a team like Endemic, who waited, played the right rotation, and honestly had some really nice moments to justify it, right? That's where the best teams thrive, is when they do what the unexpected, when they come out and they surprise everyone.
Yeah.
And super big on them. Now, you did mention Vicious. I want to give them a shout out as well. 10th place, but 9 kills. That basically put them in 4th overall for that match.
Yeah.
And honestly, you got to respect their team fighting. Like, that's one thing I take away from Vicious, is their transitions are rough. They have a hard time getting 4 guys to where they want to go. But when these guys settle in and take a good old-fashioned 4v4, they do very well. Anybody who says otherwise is absolutely crazy. These guys have a ton of fragging potential.
Yeah, and this isn't the first time we've seen them come up in big team fights. We'll see how, in previous games, they'd win a fight and then immediately get collapsed afterwards because they lose their resources in that fight. But nonetheless, the fact that they can take that team fights, that's, like I've said it before, that's a really good baseline to start building your team off of.
To know you can win them, but you got to find the right time to take those fights. And we do an analyst replay here every day. Cameron, we picked one that shows maybe picking the right kind of fight for you. So let's go to that, and you can talk me through what we're seeing.
So here's another example of a team using what makes Military Island games different, which is the rotations through. Cloud9, they're going to be driving up to the coast, not to start crossing, but to start punishing rotations of their own. There's a space station also prepping to go across the river in just a few moments, but C9, they take some shots that I believe are passing Noble, but they take some initial shots onto space station. C9 know that they can shoot some people trying to rotate across. We've seen them do this previously. They're using their center drop on Pachinki to their advantage to try and get some early kills.
Well, this is just something we've been playing since the beginning of time. Remember them parking here in Oakland and winning games out of it. Now they'll make a nice transition, and they saw where Space Station was headed, right? When it comes to military, you can cross on a bridge, swim, or boat. That's what we heard the winners say. SSG goes to the one spot where everyone loves to get boats to cross. Cloud9 goes, well, we know you're going there.
Yeah.
Let's go ahead and watch you go for it. And that becomes a really smart play for them as they take the top, they do some scouting, and then they start to rack up those kill counts.
Yeah, and so C9 taking this coastal area, this peninsula of sorts, I suppose, it's not a play for the late game. But going to the military island, you can never secure yourself a late game spot unless you land there like Lazarus did this game. And so they put themselves in a position to potentially get some early game points. So once they do transition, they may get camped themselves, they may get torn apart, but they at least have those points as a baseline for this game.
I know you're skeptical about their timing, but I think here's what it comes down to. They don't know it's circle going guaranteed south, it's going north. Here's a good spot where we are close no matter what happens. We potentially pick up some transition kills and get some points. They got 3 in the bag right here.
Yeah.
And then if we have to cross, you do what they did. You leapfrog. You leave 2 players on the hilltop. They covered the swimmers. No one messed with their swim team. And once the swimmers make landfall, they turn around, they defend you, doing the return. So here they go, getting a couple of, I think they ended up with 3 here.
I think they had 3 total. I think they only got 2.
Okay, so they only got 1, but they cost Space Station everything.
They did. So Cloud9, it didn't turn out as well as they would have wanted it to. They only got that 1 kill. If this was a better placement point structure, then I suppose they'd be happy about wiping out Space Station.
It's not just about the kills, though. It's also they got rid of a boat. They forced other people to the bridges.
Yeah.
Let's take a look at that plane and how the game started right, I don't want to say the middle, starting over military and moving up towards Georgia Pole, a fairly common plane. Only 1 team went to military. And I'll be honest, Cameron, I was angry when I saw them go there because I know how hard it is to get off of military. But I guess in this case, it worked out.
I mean, it worked out in this one particular round, but that doesn't mean that Military Island is suddenly a good position. You can't guarantee a milli circle every single time. But Lazarus, they seem to not like Milta Power because even on this plane where they could have gone to Power easily, they don't. I guess they're too worried about getting cut off on their own rotations by Ghost and Milta or E United up north of them. But either way, they seem to really like this spot and worked out for them this game.
I mean, it seems that they've just adjusted their drop point. They're now going to go ahead and be a military team.
Yeah.
Good luck to you guys. Now let's check out the transitions. Look at that endemic transition. The big winners all the way from South Georgia Pole took a boat tour that was 3 days, but ultimately brought them the points.
It's a risky rotation. You're not the only ones to do that. I think Oxymoron went around that area as well, but Endemic went earlier, which means that they can land on the island sooner. They don't eat as much damage from the blue, which it's going to be at least a little bit of damage when you make that long rotation on the western side, but it put them in a good spot to hold off until the end.
And they made smart plays. WTF also did a nice little push down. They grabbed the crossroads and they grabbed right past the bridge at the second crossroads, and they went up to that little compound. Honestly, if it had been a north circle on that final, WTF game in the bag. So I think they couldn't have played that any better, to be honest with you. Just a tough situation to find themselves in. But again, a big shout out to Endemic for playing that rotation, that transition about as perfect as you possibly can.
Yeah, but also Y10 Fade, like I'm going to agree with you on that one. Even if it was a Southern one, if they came out with maybe 1 more person up against that fight against Lazarus, it's quite possible that they could have won that game.
All right, let's take a look at the leaderboards for match 1, and that's exactly what we thought. Endemic, Y10 Fate, Lazarus, 1, 2, 3, pretty expected. Vicious Gaming in 4th place off of that kill count.
They ended in 10th as far as placements, but because of the kills, they got 9 points, and that put them over Cloud9, who I think ended up in 4th overall. Maybe, yeah, 4th overall. So that just goes to show how important kills are. Even if you can't secure a top spot, if you can pick up a squad wipe or 2, that's good.
I mean, at the end of the day, relegations are around the corner. We chatted with Alex this morning, and he brought up 5.5 as the cutoff right now. If you want to be in 10th place and avoid relegations in 2-3 weeks, technically, you gotta be above 5.5 points per game, and that's gonna be a big boost for Vicious. Overall standings right now, poor Vicious, even on a good game, they're still in 14, but Tempo extends their lead on top of the bracket. STK right behind them, and WTF continues their slide a little bit farther to the south.
I think the gap between 1 and 2 got just a little bit smaller. It was pretty big at the top, but it's a gap. It's going to be there for a while. We thought it was almost over, but then Tempo Storm turned it around in the final game last time.
5, 6, and 7 right on top of each other. Remember, there is a second thing. Some of these teams are playing because where you are seated at the end of today determines which group you are playing in the NPL Royale next week.
Yeah.
So getting a little bit of a better position and a better group pick could be a big deal. Remember, guys, if you want to chat with us, if you want us to answer questions, you can go onto Twitter and use hashtag NPL, ask about rankings, rotations, anything you want, and we will have a chance to talk about that in the coming weeks. Featured teams in match 2, Space Station Gaming, Simplicity, Ghost Gaming, and Shoot to Kill. Remember, we like to follow 4 teams and tell their stories, and that's who we'll be looking at today. Let's go over and take a look at these teams as they prep for game number 2 on Miramar. Cameron, talk to me a little bit about Space Station Gaming.
Space Station Gaming, I'm going to repeat what I've said about them before. They are really, really good at taking every single drop of juice out of the fruit that they have been given. But when it's a bad fruit, it can sometimes go a little wrong. They are currently on a good standing in the leaderboard. They started today off in 5th. I think they resting still around there, but nonetheless, a solid team to look at. And if you are going up against them in a 4v4 fight and you have to push into them, that is a very, very scary moment because they can hold down their position like none other.
No one flicks like his hair. I don't know how you shoot like that. Kudos to you. All right, next team we're going to take a look at is Simplicity Gaming. Was he counter-rotating his head to the camera?
Yeah.
Well done. That was actually pretty impressive. All right, so currently Simplicity came in today in 7th place. They had a really good preseason, and I think they've been under the radar so far during this season. We're seeing brilliance, but also some pretty big failures out of them. So I'm not mad at their performance. I don't think they're as happy as they could be. And part of that is I haven't seen any of those wow moments out of Linksy. I don't know if we've missed them, but like in preseason, he was hitting shots that were just mind-boggling.
It has to be said, preseason was against multiple teams that are not in Pro League because they're just not as good. So
It was a classy way to say
you
it.
have to recognize the fact that it's just a harder lobby than what it was in preseason.
Yeah.
So it's not going to be as easy to find those opportunities, but Space Station versus Simplicity, both around the middle of the pack in terms of kills and damage.
Which I think Space Station Gaming has a much higher rank than Simplicity at the moment, and part of that is their placements. It's been a little bit better as Simplicity's been kind of up and down the board, building that average.
Yeah.
So should be interesting to watch them in this game.
Yeah, good damage for Simplicity. They've got to turn that into kills and more placements. But up next is going to be Ghost Gaming. Started today in 11th place, just barely outside of relegation range. Another team that is still, I guess, trying to figure out how to become the gods that they, I guess, used to look like they could have been.
The gods of yesteryear.
Yeah.
It's true. I mean, at the end, right now, they're below the relegation cutoff. So it is. We've got 2 weeks plus today of competitive play still going for the season. And it's time to make some solutions, right? I mean, some teams I think are still struggling a little bit to find their place, but that time has passed. Ghost needs to just step up and go a little bit crazy.
We know Ghost can shoot. They have some of the best fraggers. They just can't turn it.
Speaking of shoot, let's shoot to kill. Going over to our last featured team for today, the Iron Men of PUBG, as we started calling them yesterday, and they're proving it again and again. They started today in 2nd place with a massive 8.25 points per game. 8.25 points per game. That is absolutely crazy. That's literally higher than an average of 2nd place if you talk about just placement points. So if they continue to do what they've done, which is Alo putting out insane kill counts and Purdy with insane grenades, I don't see them struggling to finish in the top 3.
I mean, Shoot to Kill have 1st in kills and 1st in damage. They're 2nd in points because their placements have slipped just behind Tempo Storm. but these guys have been monsters and really controlling their field.
And may I remind you that they are one of our unsigned teams. These guys represent themselves. They're doing it their way, and I'll tell you what, their way is proven to be working wonders. I'm super impressed with STK. Goes to the opposite side, I think needs to step up a little bit. We'll see if this is the game where that starts. It is time, ladies and gentlemen, to head over to our first mirror match of the day. And the gentlemen who will be taking you through it are PUBG's own triple threat of Porosaurus, Matchum, and WTF Moses.
Oh, he came in a little vanilla with that one. I was expecting another boy band reference. That is indeed true. I am WTF Moses, joined by Matchman Poro.
Hey.
And looking at Space Station Gaming, the only team last game to get 0 points.
Yeah, look, hey, they also only gave up 1 point.
True.
This is true. I mean, they were put in a really, really rough situation, and they made the most of it, I guess you could say. I don't know. There wasn't really much to make of that.
The high upside of drowning yourself.
Yeah, Simplicity as well, finding themselves in a nice little spot. Ghost, God, they got a lot of work to do. I mean, you know, they're not doing nearly as well as they need to be.
One of the things I want to talk about with Shoot to Kill, though, is their uptake. We keep talking about points per game. This is a team that is just accumulating so many points on average per every single round. There's somebody that you know Tempo Storm is keeping an eye on, because the moment that Tempo has like 1 or 2 bad games, Shoot to Kill's constant pressure with those points per game is just going to push them up the leaderboard that much closer to first.
Absolutely. Well, we are ready for match number 2. We are headed to the desert, and the plane is in the air, and we are headed across the middle of the map, right to left. And it is going to be, again, easy distribution of teams unless you're going super far north. Smoke and Aces, we'll see what they decide to mess with this game.
You're not wrong. I mean, look, we call them the Kings of First Blood for a reason. They always seem to land right next to somebody that they can take shots at very, very early. Who's it going to be this time? Right now, Space Station, very, very close.
Never afraid of this. They specifically spread out and try to catch people as they're still dropping if they've got the guns. They are never afraid to go for a fight, but only whenever backfires in their face and they don't get that first down, instead get down first, that's whenever they face the problems. We've been seeing them have some very good games, though.
Yeah, I mean, look, you can't deny what Smoke and Aces has been doing. We said it last game as we looking at Ghost. You know, we were talking about when we were talking about Noble. Stats don't lie, the ball don't lie. Right now, McCoy, lowest on his team in damage. That is not where you'd expect him to be. You know who's got 1,000 more damage and 7 more kills than McCoy?
Oh boy,
Define Legit.
Oh, well,
so it is what it is. You know, and if you know at some point McCoy, I know he's got it in him, and he can play much better than the situations that have been presenting themselves to him. But at some point, you got to realize that okay, I've got to turn things on now, and McCoy is one of those players that I think can definitely turn it on.
One thing I wanted to note is look at Sharky's position. He's actually not inside of Impala, so that's just more territory that Tempo Storm is trying to carve out in this early game.
he's taken the important task of trying to get early game kills at long distance with the iron-studded Scar.
Look, if Sharky sees something, he's throwing bullets at it. It doesn't matter how far away it is.
Irrational confidence for them. Speaking of points and just the distribution of, and Define Legit and Smoke and Aces, more than 80% of Smoke and Aces points comes from kills. They only have 29 total rank points out of their 111 points.
Look, and respect where it's due. They're getting a ton of kills. They are doing the work that they need to be doing. But now if they can find a way to transition those early game kills and that high kill count and then improve the other side of their game plan, which is placement, they're going to be a force. They're going to be an absolute force. And I think that they've been improving on that as the season has progressed.
Talk about rotations. Well, we've got the NPL circle essentially this time around, back down towards the southwest.
Yay!
Everybody should be fairly knowledgeable of who's going to rotate where inside of the circle, because we've seen it a few times.
Be quite familiar with what's going on here as Shoot to Kill. You see Purdy Curdy going into Hacienda to loot up. He's checking on Simplicity's Wooly. It's a little bit, he's got a little bit close here to Lazarus, but should be okay for now.
Speaking of Wooly, this is a man for Simplicity who is also unfortunately saddled with the lowest kill count, the lowest damage on the squad. The combination of Penta and Wooly, almost as old as the game itself, but looking at Lynxy, he has definitely been dazzling for the squad. So if I'm Wooly, I'm looking to try and step it up even a little bit to improve Simplicity's performance.
Yeah, and I mean, we're being a little bit hard on Simplicity. I think the desk maybe would not, I don't want to say being hard on Simplicity for the way they're performing right now as opposed to how they performed in the preseason. We got to remember, the performance that Lynxy and Penta put in through the preseason was I mean, it was astronomical. It was such a great performance that it's really, really hard to match that on a long form basis here.
Well, comparing these two players, Penta is still top fragging for the team. He's got 28 kills, 5,500 damage, and I wouldn't call out Wooly if it wasn't a big contrast. Wooly's got 6 kills, 1,600 damage. So it's not a question of stepping it up a little bit, it's about turning his game around.
Yeah, being below 2,000 damage here at this point of the season is a little concerning, but it's something that they can turn around for sure.
And so with this, you can see that the circle's positioned up. We've got Ghost that's probably going to have to rotate here in just a second, but it's going to be Oxy already cutting through. Wooly in that position. You guys were talking about how he might need to step up a little bit more damage. This could be an opportunity. Is he going to jump out of his vehicle? He's not even going to spot him, and it's going to be one of those near misses.
Ooh, he's just going to get on out of there. Oh, no, he's going to get into a little bit better position, but maybe he's listening to us, maybe want to take a shot. He does hear the other engine, though, from Basher, knowing that he doesn't want to put himself into a rough spot here. He sees Basher coming around, but yeah, I think Wooly making the right decision there.
But look at that. Again, another adaptation coming from Oxy. We talked about how these guys are constantly learning. They're the new guys on the block. Being aware that, hey, somebody might stop, try to take some shots at my teammate. He was getting into a position to where he could jump out and cover his teammate if need be. I really like that play.
Yeah, it's a good job by Oxy. I mean, look, they still have a lot of work to do as well as they're trying to make sure they make their way up the leaderboard. But, you know, you can't deny that they've been definitely improving as the season has progressed.
I'd like to see YTM Fate here again convert on a nice circle position. Getting south early might be the question. Actually, it looks like they're going to do that just yet, but for Fozu and the rest of Lazarus, he's headed right towards Pride and Wildcard.
Oh no, is Pride going to take the shot?
Ooh,
with the 8K, he does manage to get one tire here, but it's not going to be enough.
Oh, that was
okay, whoa.
That could be kind of big. He's rolling off in the distance there, and that's going to be a finish out from Sharp Shot. That was just perfectly delivered to a teammate. Frolicker already down for Ghost as well, getting sprayed out of this. It's going to be Huen just going to go ahead and get that finished off, get that extra point. Still taking the shots at McCoy and Drassel in rotation as well.
And man, these guys are so far out of circle right now. They're all the way here on the eastern coast by La Bendita Crater. So, I mean, you got to think of your Ghost. Why are these guys here? We were not expecting them to be here, but unfortunately going to lose Frolicker in the process here.
You can see how excited he is about being out so early in this game, unfortunately for Frolicker.
He's pretty pumped.
It's pretty sad right now, so he's just going to be sitting there in silence, trying to coach his team as best he can. The spray comes out from Venerated. Nice turn on Nerf. It's Venerated versus Cloud9.
Profi's going to go ahead and throw out a nade. That's going to be very, very close depending on how it rolls through. You can see just trying to get a little bit more space so Nerf can retreat back over here. They're trying to go for the res. Everybody from Envy looks like they're trying to get a feel how many members of Cloud9 are over here. They know that they can sometimes split into a 2-2. That's why they're being a little bit more risky with it, but it looks like it's going to be shots in the distance. They're going to force them to try to bide their time, be a little bit slower with this.
That's good protection. Good protection coming out of the other duo from C9, making sure that that res does get off as C9 Nerf is going to try to run from this. Envy just, again, it seems like we're always talking about how they just don't really push on things.
Yeah, they had it down. They took one shot from Lobes, who's super far away, but just no aggression. I mean, pushing over a ridge blind is dangerous.
Yeah.
But
yeah,
you know what?
Sure.
If you're Envy, it's time to start taking a few risks here and there. They have the skill. It's not like they're going to drop their weapons and forget how to team fight if they push a ridge.
And yeah, you know, we were talking about this before. Caden, Pat Caps, these guys are guys that are known to be incredibly good fraggers, Venerated as well. And we're not seeing that same Envy that we've seen in the past where they're hyper aggressive and they land all these shots and push on everything. And it seems like they've kind of pulled back a little bit.
If they have the evidence that, okay, their backup is shooting from far away, how many players could there be? We still have a numbers advantage, at least if it's a 4v3. You push the ridge, maybe you clean up 3 kills or at least get 1 out of that, and they got nothing.
And now we've got Shoot to Kill running their 2-2 split, getting a little bit more information, playing along this hill. Great spot to try to collect information specifically on rotations because they're so close to center. Gonna spot out Oxy. I love this. They're just going for the tires. They don't even care about the fight. They're like, you may have to move sooner or later, and we're gonna be waiting for it.
Tire destroyers. The Michelin Man is not welcome here in Miramar. As Alo gonna go ahead and take those tires and run on back. As J-Sank just sitting here wondering, like, God, these jerks.
I love how the fact that there was somebody that was inside the garage, shots go off, and he's like, oh, somebody's shooting at me. It's like, no, he just took out my tires, man.
That's 2 vehicles now down, though, for Oxy. Unfortunate. They even went through all the trouble of pulling the Bronco into the garage, and unfortunately, Alo coming in with the perfect angle to still take out a tire there. That feels bad. That feels bad.
The rubber bandit. No.
It's like the wet bandits from Home Alone. We gotta come up with the nicknames for all these teams here. We usually leave that to Toffees, but
Well, you know, we want good nicknames.
oh no.
I got him. No, he's going to come over and punch me.
Jeez.
Please don't attack Tom.
Well, you see Noble taking some long range shots here at Oxy as well. So Alo still just gaining information, as you said, Matcham looking over the top here, but nothing really popping off too terribly just yet. We have lost 2 in transition, but 62 still alive as we go into circle 2.
Oh, Jesus.
We've seen this circle a few times as well. Who wants to talk about the cliff face?
Yeah, well, it's dead zone. There's literally nothing you can do with it. It's basically ocean. It's the desert version of ocean in this case, as the whole side of the zone is going to be completely impassable. Even the ridge leading up to it's really rough. Y-Temp Fate, nice 2-2 split. They've seen this before.
I was going to ask, but so Moses, you see this circle, you see so much of that cliffside pump, you know, kind of coming into that circle. If you're Y10 Fate, do you consider yourself to be in center circle right now proper, or do you try to reposition?
It's only going one way. It's going to come further towards the center where Y10 Fate's already set up. They've positioned themselves for this circle, and I think Y10 Fate is going to be sitting pretty for at least the next 2 zones.
Early rotations are big inside of a circle like this because remember, they've got the roads that are at the bottom of the valley. I know I've said this a million times, guys, but it's important around this because if you get up on the high spots, you can take the shots. If you're forced down to the low points and you have to rotate out, could be a lot of trouble for you. So early rotation is going to pay off big as we still have 60 people alive in a circle with not really as much territory as you would think.
The southern side is going to be where all the pressure is going to mount. Tempo, Storm, Envy still getting down that way. Simplicity making their way towards where Noble's set up. If you're Simplicity, you just kind of gingerly make your way in, but Endemic's not too far away. They're going to be hearing the jostling of vehicles, but that center zone is already super dense. Matt just said it, 60 people alive.
Every single time we see circles like this, it seems like the southern side is so packed and compact full of teams. We don't really see a whole lot of teams trying to rotate the long way coming from the north here. Smoke and Aces all by themselves.
I think that's a herald back to how many times we've seen this circle. And remember, Y10 Fate always plays around El Pozo. They used to set traps for people as they rotated around this area. Naturally, Y10 Fate is going for position now, but everybody's afraid to go up towards that north because they remember that time that Y10 Fate killed them there.
It's true. It's true, and you can see Y10 Fate still in the 2-2, actually in a kind of a 2-1-1 here, more than a 2-2. As you can see, Simplicity kind of getting all 4 together with the high ground here, getting it down onto Nerf as well.
Second headshot, another shot to the face for Nerf, and there's Drassel in his vehicle. Ghost, for all we know, has been driving around this entire time, as they are now receiving pressure from Tempo Storm. Drassel avoiding the withering fire of Sharky on the high side. Sharky never stopped shooting.
Still not in circle, though.
This is interesting. Stopping at this stage, going to hop over into another vehicle. Looks like they're trying to get into a spot. But remember, Envy is already moving ahead of them inside this map right now. So we've got Tempo Storm and Ghost outside the circle, but it's also going to be Envy coming up along a similar path. You can see their markers off in the distance there, so it's going to make very difficult rotations for these late teams.
Ghost is trying to make their way into the zone from the south, and they're now 2 to a vehicle. Alo, again, guess what? The rubber bandit, he's popping tires. Baja says, please stop it, I need that.
Just ruining every tire he can find. Alo, his damage done to tires is probably higher than... Oh man, I was about to be really, really toxic there, but I stopped. I stopped myself.
Good
as he's going to take some shots here at Bahawaki. That's a pretty scary sniper duel to get into, though.
Let the hate flow through you, Carl. Let the hate flow through you.
I've been hanging out on a desk with you too much, Moses. You're turning me into a toxic player. I can't do it.
That's a stat we need to get. Total number of tires destroyed. Because I feel Alo would be the king of this stat.
It would be, yeah. I mean, look, it's a huge, impactful play to make there, especially when you're getting to these late game circles, when teams are having, and especially on Miramar, when there's so much open space that you have to move across.
Well, on this one, it actually is a little bit different because it's those hillsides. You don't want to walk up these hillsides. We've seen how rough that can be. Imagine running up what you're seeing right there with all of these people still alive and shooting at you.
Ghost circle IMO.
Go circle. There you go.
They only have to move 10 feet, avoid the vehicles, avoid an early death. And they actually have a nice little ridge to work with as well. They'll have Space Station to the north, but Y10 Fate, easy condense. They're going to join up with Hetero and Hypoc. We'll see how they play this. They left Valiant out in the flank, maybe going to play the terrain a little bit.
But look at this. This is kind of what I was talking about earlier when you had Y10 Fate that were dead center of this circle, and then they get that hard shift to the south. Now they're on the edge again, whereas before they had everything kind of in front of them. Instead of maybe taking a high ground spot, they elect to stay in the compounds.
This is a cool play coming out from Envy. They played along that low ridge point around the road, jumped up, managed to get this one building that has a little bit of controlled sight lines to work around. And I just love the fact that they knew everybody was going to be shooting hilltop to hilltop, and so instead played that low ground to get them the rotation.
Oh boy, Alo's gone down here. Looks like Civ should be able to get the res here. Yeah, they're going to be safe as they're trading fire back and forth between Smoke and Aces. Smoke and Aces now still needs to make their way into circle, but they have to make their way through shoot to kill. We see them hopping in the vehicles, trying to make a long rotate.
Space Station Gaming still running up and forward, getting around Vicious Gaming that's positioned up. But you can see shoot to kill way off in the distance. They're looking towards, that's going to be Smoke and Aces taking a couple of shots. Pretty Curdy looks like he's going to hit a couple of them there. But again, it's foot rotations as these two guys are trying to meet up. It's one car, so just trying to regroup. Half of the team is already separated out on a different angle. And here we go. We got Simplicity playing the high ground, looking back down towards Noble.
I like the way that Penta is just kind of gathering information. Making a press onto this makes 0 sense for them. It's a hard cover position on a high side spot for them. So for Simplicity, they're going to be looking for just any headshots, anything they can maybe take away from Noble. But for now, it's just going to be info gathering, making sure no one gets on top of them, and keeping an eye on Cloud9.
Exactly. You're not going to push downless even if you get the knock. The positioning is too good, so just get the information.
Now, they are on edge of circle, though, so as you said, gaining information right now, really, really important in case that next circle does move off of you. As Wynn tries to take the shot, it's not going to land, and he's going to be pushed off of this by Sharky. Long range, because Sharky has to throw bullets at literally everything.
Shaved his nose hairs off with that bullet. Oh my god.
I love how you can see the guys from Ghost like, what was that? And where did it come from? And why are they gone? Are they still there? All right, let's get a little bit more of an idea of what's happening. Space Station Gaming just steps up and they're like, all right, we missed. We're going to go back to our little homes now.
You know what? There's something to note about those scopes. Like, they're all default 0 to 100 meters. So he might have been just too close for that headshot to land somehow.
Yeah, you never know. You never know. But look, right now, these guys all sitting on a very, very good high ground position here. Smurf going to take some long range fire here, I believe, from E United down low towards the cliff side as we see where this next circle is going to go. Everything's collapsing right now. Smoke and Aces has made their way in. Ghost on the very, very southern tip here. Where are they going to have to do? Again, another hard shift south. And that is huge for these teams that have this high ground spots here.
Y10 Fate is like, damn it! I thought we had this one, man. Now they're all going to jump in their vehicles. It's going to be 4 men, 4 vehicles headed south. But where do they go?
But here's the factor with it. Remember, we still have Envy running that 2-2 split. They did manage to get the circle, but if any of these teams decide to crash either of their complexes, they could be outnumbered. So it's going to be very important for the duo to really protect the other side. Meanwhile, shoot to kill looks like they're just trying to make some type of rotation and under fire from so many angles.
Yeah, shoot to kill very, very far from the circle now, and they have a high ground spot now, but there's a wide open plane in between them and to this next circle. As you see, Lazarus just tried to make their way through, and they got taken down by Wildcard.
It's this point where all of those tires they shot are going to pay off for them, but they're having to run themselves down. Meanwhile, I got Space Station Gaming taking a couple of shots towards Vicious Gaming still.
I like the way that Space Station is, again, just applying pressure, not allowing VG to get any shots in the windows. Win, he's looking down, seeing if he can use that sniper rifle as best he can. The northern side still trying to figure itself out. Geist and the rest of E United looking good.
And here you go, E United holding this point, but it's going to be Y10 Fate coming in, guns ablazing. Opens the door, he's like, he thought it was a teammate, and that's Pistola time going down. Now it's going to be Taylor J running amok back behind there. He's not going to necessarily get the downs that were needed, but he is the last member at this time, looking back over towards Hypoc, praying that this grenade is going to take him down, but looks like he managed to reposition. No, he didn't! And that's going to be Y10 Fate getting eliminated. Somehow Taylor J held the line.
It was a little bit of help from his friends up above as Smoke and Aces come in to say, hey, what's going on down here? But, wow, that was quite the exchange, and Y10 Fate is tilted off the face of the planet right now.
Look, I mean, Y10 Fate had no other option. They had to crash that compound. They left Baja Waka behind to provide some oversight. Unfortunately, Smoke and Aces comes in right behind them and oversees the entire thing. Meanwhile, Noble somehow still trying to get their way into the circle. They have to make it through Simplicity, though.
He might have thought that it was his teammate, but it wouldn't have mattered because his gun was empty.
Oh, no.
So with this, you can see Noble got a necessary down, but not executing off of this angle. Keep in mind, Cloud9 is right over here next to this. They've probably been hearing a little bit of a skirmish. Simplicity wants to make a crossover through here as well as Endemic's just to the north of it. There is no easy cross point for Noble to make a push through. They're going to have to fight their way into this circle.
Looks like they're low pushing below Cloud9, but it just depends on whether Profi can hear this right now. I think Profi might hear footsteps, but Lobes is still taking long range shots here. Nerf is going to be looking back. Or no, that's K-Mine, I'm sorry.
Going to be Will taking a couple of shots back over towards K-Mine, but you can see they're still caught up looking back down towards Space Station Gaming. Will's taking a lot of damage, doesn't get the down for it, and this is starting to come a little bit bad for him. Look at Profi moving into a little bit more of aggressive position. Going to go ahead and flush out Boom, but now Adaculus and Fudge still on that low side. They've got a tree that's kind of blocking line of sight from Profi. How is Fudge going to play this? Look at Adaculus. He's playing the point.
All of Profi's keys are bound to forward. He can only have one speed, and that's kill. He's got an angle. He's now looking for more from Noble.
But Simplicity taking shots back over on a similar path from this. They're wanting to cross over, so it's all the guys from it's going to be Lobes and K-Mine getting caught up with Simplicity a little bit. That's going to put a lot more pressure onto Profi as now he has to control this angle. Really, the guys up towards the high ground. K-Mine has so much pressure coming out towards him, but Lobes does not care. Look at that. They're hitting the necessary shots. Finally, Profi does see Simplicity, but he's outside in the blue. He can't move forward easily.
He called for support from K-Mine. K-Mine doesn't have a direct angle. Lobes is coming there as well. Profi's trapped.
And that's going to be it. He's just going to get down from shots as well as the blue zone. Adaculus survives through that distraction that Simplicity makes. But look at Lobes just profiling up on the top of this Pentalol. They're starting to get closer and closer. But look, Lobes right there prepping the grenade. If he manages to get a good toss, it could be really big. And Simplicity realizes it.
This is all being overseen by Oxy as well from long range as K-Mine gets it down onto Wooly. We can see K-Mine has a great position right here in the rocks. They can't really see him. They have no idea where he is. The grenade's going to come up from Check Shooter. Will it be enough?
Cooked a little bit too long, but it's going to run off in the distance there. Check Shooter still wants to push forward just a little bit. Wooly is down back behind him, but no clear sight lines onto it. But look, Adaculus is now making his move. Lobes has now spotted him. That's going to pull attention back off this angle.
So Dak is something to do here. I think he knows that Lobes is up there. He knows that Simplicity is here. He doesn't know what angle to take, which will be better. He's going to get spotted out by Lobes, but now Lobes has to turn his attention back to Simplicity.
They're not inside the circle. They know that they need to finish this fight fast, and it's really just trying to make their way up this hillside. That's going to be Check Shooter's job, but he just can't quite vault it.
Oxy has stopped taking shots here. VG now third-partying this as well.
All right, now then, you can see it's K-Mine still up on the top. Lobes jumps out inside the blue. He's going to try to go for a flank. Over on us, gets the spray onto Wooly. Lynxie's down as well. Check Shooter still holding the line way back over there. It's going to be Cloud9 running down the hillside. Is Check Shooter going to spot him out? K-Mine's on no life. Is he going to stop? I don't think he has the time. The blue zone's there, and he's just going to jump right into him.
And you know what? This hill is going to win the battle eventually because now it's going to be an open-facing hill for Check Shooter, and everyone's looking his direction. VG's there. Oxy's there. And yes, it is. The Rock wins. We've seen this in the past, and that's another team down.
Aggressive play coming out from Oxy. They're moving up into Ghost's base, realizing Basher has control over the circle right now. They can play off of it a little bit, but they got to hit the shots, and look at that. That's going to force McCoy back. Sure, it was shots from Huen, but that's going to be enough to buy them a little bit more space.
Ghost still has 3 up. Oxy sent one player, Basher, in towards the center of the circle while keeping J-Sank and Shuru on the outside, or J-Sank and Jason on the outside. They don't want to really push into this fight, but they want to make sure that they know exactly what's going on with Ghost here as they try to make their way into circle.
Envy's still holding on to a 2-2 split. They're shooting as best they can. Luckily, no pressure coming their way. All eyes now on Ghost. They're throwing utility, trying to make their way down the hill. How many times have we seen this from Ghost?
But look, also Tempo Storm running a 2-2 split. So really, it's Envy and Tempo Storm working together, hitting these crazy angles back. Ghost is just trying to get their reses back up, but every single time they do, look at all the smokes they're just having to use down this hillside, and they still have a ways to go.
Yeah, hopefully they have like 5 or 10 more of those things.
I mean, they can put all the clouds of smoke they want to down here. It's not going to be enough as they try to find some kind of angle to hide behind. Caden is going to spot out McCoy. The shots are going to come through, and that's going to do it for Ghost as Balak is the last remaining player up here.
It was Oxy taking the shots off to the side of it, but now that they've drawn everybody else's attention, Balak is just sitting here like, please, just have all the bullets go over towards them. Smokes are starting to dissipate. He's now making his way over to teammates, trying to get a couple more utility pieces, trying to get those grenades that are going to be so necessary. Rez is now coming out from Oxy as well. Look, Envy is just making sure that they can take short work on everybody on that angle.
Finish off Ghost from Envy Pack Caps as now Envy is going to turn their attention around towards the north. They do have 2 in the circle. They have to get 2 more in as they're currently in the southern part of the circle. Tempo also sending theirs and his Win trying to make his way in.
It's now time to get aggressive for Space Station Gaming. They've lost their home. It's time to leave. They've only got, I think that was 2 kills I saw, potentially 3, but now they're running right to Oxy. Shots come out first. It's going to be D-Master going down.
But it's actually Vicious Gaming that's assisting inside of this, so this is not a straight 2v4. J-Sank is trying to hit some shots. You See, the grenades are bouncing down around him, but it's going to be a beautiful shot coming out. Both the members from Oxy now down. Really, it's just Basher off on the other angle, nowhere near the spike.
Basher is the one they send in earlier to try to gain circle position. You see this from Oxy all the time. They have 3 remaining up. They always send 1 in towards the center of the circle, leave 2 behind.
Yeah, but that sets them up for failure in team fights. They have 4 come right at them. They can't even defend it with VG also helping them, and now only Basher's left.
But they have managed to get themselves into that 8th place spot, so they can buy themselves a couple more points. They're praying everybody else around them dies, because you can see Space Station Gaming has had a lot of damage dealt to them as well. Vicious Gaming going to have to push down a similar path. Tempo Storm, Envy getting closer and closer in the distance. Look at how close they're getting to each other, and that's going to be Venerated hitting a nice shot onto it.
That's 4. The Space Station was 4 strong, but seconds ago, and now Basher going to try to finish off Smurf here as he's running down the hill. As we see him trying to use any cover he can find. He has no idea where Basher is right now, though, as we see Envy and Tempo fighting off in the distance.
They've got a little bit of time to work with Smurf, but again, it's going to be very rough with all those eyes looking at him. Now the western side started to sort itself out a little bit as teams try and make their way center. There's a bit of a dead spot in the map.
I love the read coming out from Smurf. He keeps playing around different sides of the rock, using any damage to try to reposition. He knows exactly where Basher's at, trying to hit the damage onto it, and look at that. Basher just narrowly survives that bullet. Smurf still needs to make his way inside the safe zone, but now it's going to be Envy that takes the shots, and Venerated gets himself a kill.
This is looking good for Envy right now.
It was just long enough. Smurf had a limited window that he could try to make his way down where Envy was focused on Tempo Storm. Once that fight was over, Envy turned their attention back towards Space Station.
Tempo Storm not playing this too aggressive, realizing they've already lost the 2 members, just trying to play as defensive as they can, using the hillside as their cover point, letting Envy take the shots on everybody inside the circle.
Still have a 4-man squad of VG off to the northwest, or northeast rather. They have a hilltop, they have a little bit of circle that they can play with here. Smoke and Aces also looking very strong.
The dead spot in the map has now been taken over by Envy. They've got 4 strong, they've got a hard covered position. Wildcard stuck in a divot, VG stuck on the high ground. This is looking really good for Envy. They must convert on this game.
Vicious Gaming is needing a good game, though, and these guys have a lot of members still up. They've got Wildcard down below them. Meanwhile, Smoking Aces and Tempo Storm are going to have to figure out how they're going to push this, but look, Envy is just staring at where Wildcard is at.
We've seen Wildcard take this position so many times. Anytime it ends up on a roadside, it always seems to be them just trying to survive as long as they can.
Right up until the nades start landing.
There you go.
And it's going to be a lot of wild cards all over the side of the road.
A lot of pieces of wild cards. Anyway.
Envy is actually turned into the focal point. All the teams are looking towards them, so it's making it a lot harder for them to peek out. Really is going to come down to rotation and who spots whom first. Vicious Gaming starting to use their smokes. You can see long tosses coming through there. They know that they need to cross down, but really they need to get to a cover point. That road is running right through the center of the map, and it is a dead zone for cover, and Envy is unrelenting in their hail of bullets.
Right now, Envy just destroying everything around them as we see Tempo still off in the distance, making things difficult for Smoke and Aces, as Smoke and Aces now just have only Crow up left, as the other 2 have gone down, but Maluk gets down by Venerated.
That's going to affect them at distance, really. I mean, I was hoping to see some more aggression from Tempo. I think they would have if Venerated hadn't stepped up and prevented Maluk from making any ground, but again, Envy's looking really good here.
Vicious Gaming did manage to find themselves a nice bit of cover that they can play around. So it's really just a poke battle between these 2 teams at the direct time, depending on how Wildcard, Tempo Storm, Smoking Aces try to capitalize off of this. Keep in mind, Smoking Aces still has 3 members up and alive. Now it's all going to be about how this next circle goes and how everybody has to reposition.
Envy absolutely saving Smoking Aces there by killing Maluk off. Maluk was going in for the flush onto Define Legit, but that was not, or to Crow, rather. Instead, Crow able to get both reses off, so Smoking Aces back to 3 strong. But VG needs to get something done here. You have to imagine that they're going to have to leave this little ridge line that they're working here eventually.
Sharky is doing a great job on just surviving through everything that's being thrown his way at the time. You got to give it to him.
Here it is for VG. They got to get some downs here. They got to do some work before the circle starts collapsing.
43 seconds before everybody has to go. So, Envy holding down their position. Vicious Gaming is going to have to make their way right onto the road. Keep in mind, I think there's a little bit of a spot that they can play, but that's where Wildcard is trying to go. Define Legit hits the shots onto VZ on the outside. Smoke and Aces really doesn't have to move that far forward. It's all onto Vicious Gaming and how they choose to move, and actually Sharky back over there as well. But Define Legit is holding this angle and forcing Vicious Gaming to have nowhere that they can easily rotate to.
This is where Smoke and Ace's aggressive type of gameplay style comes in super, super useful as we see they're sending shots over towards VG, causing all types of havoc.
Talk about necessary downs. Anybody from Vicious Gaming right now needs to get a down onto Divine legit, otherwise they cannot make this cross. They're just gonna hop inside the vehicle, try to use it for cover, and just roll down the hillside. But Pride gets spotted out as he goes for the spray. Now Tamai having to figure out what they're gonna do off of this dash. Still playing off of the little bit of cover that the Bronco provides. No clear sight lines from those high hills down into the spot.
And he can't have grenades on him right now. You gotta figure if he's looking for some kind of nade action here.
So Malicious still trying to look back over there, but it's gonna be Envy. How are they gonna make plays? They still have vehicles, they still have control points. They're also gonna start taking a chunk out of Vicious Gaming as they make their way down that hillside.
A nice rotation from Envy, Caden, and Pat Caps coming down to that roadside, trying to get the angle, and there's gonna be another down for VZ.
They had nowhere they could go. He tried to make the jump, run back down, but you can see they're just getting torn apart down there. Dash now has had the attention drawn his way. It's gonna be Wildcard getting taken down, but that's gonna be the space he needs. Now he has to walk back up next to Smoke and Aces. Here we go. We were at the point where we're gonna be looking at our last circle. Smack dab in the middle is how everybody's gonna have to move, and Envy, sitting on 11 kills right now, is dominant.
They can't spend too much time worrying about Dash here. They have to be concerned about Smoke and Aces. If you get too split up, you're gonna be in trouble as Dash tries to pop up, but no Crow is gonna finish him off.
Here's the reposition points. You can see Smoke and Aces realizing they have an inside track onto it. They have some cover they can play. Envy separating out. They know that they have the numbers advantage at this stage, but that's gonna actually be a big shot coming out from Caden, getting that necessary down. Now the pressure's really starting to mount. Only Soap Alicious alive. He's got 4 members of Envy looking for him at this point. They've got 5 kills. Pat Caps is just charging forward and dominantly just grabs that victory away.
14 kill win for Envy. What an incredible performance. They had an absolutely amazing flank there at the end, knowing exactly what to do. And Moses, this is exactly what we were talking about, what we wanted to see coming out of Envy.
Considering how much map control they had, that was the game they absolutely needed to win. They did so in astounding fashion, picking up 14 kills. Bixel, he told me, I bought this beanie, I never took it off until we won the NPL, and so far they're headed that direction. This is the game they wanted to try and get the momentum going. This team has the ability.
Oh, without a doubt. I mean, look at this. Pat Caps, 5 kills. Venerated, 5 kills. Caden coming up with 4. Those are some strong performances. We talked about the fragging power of this team early, and they just proved it.
Well, it's 2 wins now in back-to-back days for Envy. This is a great, great turnaround for this team. Great to see them playing that hyper-aggressive play style at the end of the game, especially when it counts, especially after we're kind of giving them a little bit of trash talk for not pushing on to that fight earlier with Space Station when they had or Cloud9 when they had the opportunity.
For Smoke and Aces, it was also a good effort. Not coming up with as many kills, but I think they got themselves into a good position to basically zone VG out. VG also had a really rough time just getting anywhere near the zone at the end of that game. They were 4 strong. Wildcard got trapped at the side of the road, and what happened was expected. They got picked apart over time. Tempo Storm, however, not getting a ton of kills. Actually, it's 0 kills for them, but still a 5th place finish. There's no 0 rounds for Tempo.
No.
Well, I also want to say Vicious Gaming had a very strong performance inside that round. They got in a little bit of a spot where the circle didn't favor them. They had to figure out some way to deal with it. But I love the fact that they were like, hey, we've got a car. Let's make the risky play. If we just try to walk down this hillside, it's going to come apart. So let's at least try to make this push and try to get something out of it. Sometimes you just have to make the bad call and hope that it pays off.
Yeah, I mean, Vicious did everything they could in that position when they had to, once that circle popped and you saw that they had to leave their little location and move across the street, they did anything they could, really, but Smoking Aces, just agents of chaos, sending fire upon everybody there, and Envy wasn't really able to kind of provide enough lines of get enough lines of sight to really push them back. So Smoking Ace is just free to do whatever the hell they wanted, really.
You can start to see some frustration on the faces of some of these teams. I know Ghost is not happy. Y10 Fate's not happy with the way that circle went. The hardships forcing everyone south just put so much pressure on these teams who are looking to have a good performance. Y10 Fate wants that game back.
Oh, without a doubt. I mean, this is a team, they're very hungry. We all know that with Y10 Fate. These guys are never happy unless they're in first place every single time. If they get second place, 15 kills, they're still just like, no, didn't get first. Can't believe it.
It's true. But look, hey, the circle doesn't always go your way, right? And Y10 Fate had great position in Circle 1, had a great 2-2 split, but then were forced to crash into that compound with the United. And unfortunately, again, Smoking Aces, agents of chaos coming in from behind, finishing off Bahawaka. Y10 Fate almost came out of that fight with the United on top, but alas, it was not to be.
Well, only one team on top, and that's Envy. We have Rachel standing by with our winners.
Hey guys, thank you so much. This has been a great weekend from Envy. You had a strong finish yesterday that moved you guys up into the 6th spot. Now after this match, you guys are in 4th. How does that feel?
Feels really good that we're finally showing what we can really do.
Now, when I talked to Interrogate yesterday, he said that you guys are slowing down, you're playing the game you want to play. I need you to break that down for me a little bit, though, because you guys are really bringing it to the table today.
Yeah, so we just took high ground that game and just scouted for the first circles and put ourselves in a good 2-2 split and then just collapsed on top of each other when the time was right.
Yeah, you had a great 2-2 split there. I saw a little bit of the same at a Tempo Storm on the side of you guys. Now, did you have an eye on them as well when they were splitting?
Yeah, we didn't know it was Tempo Storm, but we knew they were there for a long time. And then when we had the opportunity to push up, we just did it safely and got some kills and fell back to our compound.
Now, in PUBG, we talk a lot about opportunity, but I want to know if there's you're sitting at the center of the clock there. You can look all the way around who you want to take out. Do you have a priority in mind of who you want to get off the map as quick as possible?
Tempo Storm, since they're in first.
Want to get them off the map, want to remove their ability to build up points and get some kills for you. But does that rivalry run any deeper than strategy?
No, not really. I'm pretty friendly with most of the guys on that team, so.
Well, you guys, I'm glad to see that great attitude here. It's been a great attitude throughout the entirety of NPL Phase 1, but we are right in the center of matches here today. So do you feel any extra pressure to perform as we start calculating things out for next week's Royale?
No, if anything, it makes us just play better. The more pressure, the better you play.
More pressure, the better you play. I love to hear it out of you guys. You got a lot of fans in the audience. I saw a lot of love for Envy in the chat. Anything you want to say to them?
Just thank you. I appreciate everything.
The gratitude is wonderful. And guys, we have 2 more matches of PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds coming up right after this break.